And that bite won't sound right, was it? What's going on, everybody? If you don't already know, my name is Bo, and welcome to my YouTube channel. First off, I'd like to say thank you to all of my new subscribers. I really appreciate y'all. It means a lot to me. I also want to say thank you to all of my previous subscribers. I really appreciate y'all too. Y'all mean a lot to me too. Y'all a big reason for why I'm going to keep doing this. I've made a transition from TikTok to YouTube, and now here I am. So far, so good, right? So, without further ado, I bet you're wondering what this is right here. Well, let's get into that. So this past winter, I acquired a 1994 Honda Shadow VLX 600. The guy told me that he'd had it for a while, had been sitting, the battery needed to be recharged, the tires were flat, he had rebuilt the carb and it was riding, but it was riding kind of funny and he couldn't quite get it to run how he wanted it to, said it would bog down on the top end. When I got the bike, I knew it was going to be a project, and I was okay with that because I wanted to build the bike myself. But needless to say, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I cheated a little bit. I've already been inside this carb twice. I can tell you that there are some real crazy surprises in here, and we'll get to that in a minute. I figured, why not make a whole series out of this bike build? So that's what I'm going to do. I got a lot of new parts for it, so a lot of new things are going to happen to it real soon. So why not just make a whole series? Now, the first thing I want to make mention of, and the first thing I want y'all to take a look at, is if you'll look at this carburetor, you'll see a lot of spots like this, and a lot of spots down in here like this and this. And if you look down in here, you can see some rust on this. This is an old carburetor. This has not been replaced. This is the original carburetor that came with the bike, and it has just been maintained and it's been taken care of. So if you take care of these things, if you maintain these things, I promise you that you will get a long-lasting life out of them. It just takes a little bit of effort. That's all you got to have. The first thing that you want to do when rebuilding a car is to start by taking off your float bowl plates. And we're going to do that right here. Now, I've cheated a little bit to help speed this thing up, but I've already broken these screws. And I want to make mention that these screws are really easy to break, to strip. If you strip these things, you're going to have the time of your life trying to get them out. And yes, they do, the carburetor kits do come with new screws, but who wants to go through all of that? You know, it just makes no sense at all. Don't strip these things out. Be very careful. For the average guy or gal who's never done this before, I can tell you this is real simple. I know you've heard stories of people saying, oh my God, carburetor rebuild, that's terrible, that's so hard. No, it's not hard. Most components inside of this come out just by something being moved out the way. There's no screws and bolts and stuff like that. I mean, there is a little bit, but we'll get to that. Okay, like I said, I've already been in here. I kind of cheated. So the first thing I do want to make mention of after I've taken this off is this ring right here. It's supposed to be like a gasket, and it creates a vacuum. You can kind of tell this thing has seen better days. So that's a problem. It's one good reason why you want to always do maintenance on your car every once in a while. It looks pretty clean in there. That's because I've cleaned it recently. But now that we got this off, let's take a look here at the float. This is your float right here. And this is going to be one of the components that you're going to want to change. So you can take a screwdriver, a flathead, and kind of get up inside of there. And that pin, you're just going to want to push. And it should slide out. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. If it doesn't slide out, don't freak out. If it slides out too easy, don't freak out. It's okay. These types of things happen. So you set that pin to the side, and you're going to want to keep that because the kits, 9 times out of 10, they do not come with pins. You grab the carburetor float and try not to drop that. And then you would take this off. This is your seat for the needle. You're going to get a new one of these in your carburetor kit, so you don't need this or this. So you can go ahead and get rid of that. Here's another thing I want to look at. Right here you have a main jet and a pilot jet. Now, I can tell you that the first time I took these jets out right here, the guy who had put these in way too tight. And I made mention of these being really tight the first time I went inside this carburetor for one reason only. These jets are made out of brass. If you wrench down on these things too hard, I promise you, you will mess these things up. If you mess these up, your carburetor will run like trash. Whatever you do when you are reinstalling these carburetor jets, do not, and I repeat, do not wrench down on these things too hard. You fit them in nice and snug, tighten them up just a tad bit, and you'll be good to go. You don't need a lot of pressure on them. You don't want to deform this brass and mess up any of the holes that the fuel has to flow through. So see, I got my pilot jet here and my main jet here. Now the next thing I want to do here is I want to pull this diaphragm plate off. Like I said before, I kind of cheated. I broke the screws already. But on this side, the same rule applies. Do not, I repeat, do not strip these screws, because it will be hell to pay if you do. I promise you. And some carburetor kits do not come with a set of screws for this side. So be gentle. Another thing you want to remember is, before I take this screw out, there is a spring in here. If you do not have your hand on this, like I have my finger right here, this spring will cause this plate to shoot out across the room, and you're going to need that spring again, so you don't want to lose it. So make sure you keep your hand on this plate, and here we go. Grab the spring, voila. Now that we got this plate off, we can go ahead and just take this old diaphragm right here. We can go ahead and pull this out. So just like before, since this is a dual carburetor, I went ahead and took this other diaphragm out. And I gotta say, it does not look any better. This thing really needed an update. It's terrible looking. So yeah, I'm gonna set that to the side. And I also want to take note that I'm doing this on a very small table. So folks, y'all don't need a lot of space to do this. You do have to put up with the smell of gas, but it is what it is. Okay, next thing we're gonna do is take this little breather right here off by taking this screw out and then taking this plate off. Now you got to be careful about this plate, because there's a spring in here and it will shoot across the room. So let's go ahead and start taking this off. There again, I've cheated. I kind of loosened everything up already. Let's see, boom. That piece comes off. Now you see this piece right here is spring loaded. So remember, be careful when you're trying to take this apart. And then I'll reach in there and grab that. And now that we've got this out, I'll gently let that come out. There we go. And we'll take this out. Now you're going to want to keep this spring there again. Set that to the side. And then we don't need this no more. We can throw this away. So now that I got my carb broke down all the way and got everything off of it, I'm going to go ahead and hit it with some carb cleaner. Clean it up real good, and then we'll go ahead and start installation. Now what I'm about to do here is I'm about to take some carb cleaner. I just want to squirt down into these holes where all the fuel flows and everything. I just want to kind of get any debris or anything that's left over. I want to get that out of there, kind of flush it out. Now you're good to go. So I'm going to set this to the side and I'm going to let it do what's called flash dry, and we'll take it back inside. Alright, for this next part, we're going to be putting together the diaphragm. And what you're going to need is your needle. This is your needle right here. And also, you're going to need your shims. This is a shim right here, kind of like a little washer almost. You're going to need your retainer, this piece right here. And you're going to need this small spring, not the large spring, but the smaller one. Now what you want to do is you take your shim and you're going to place it over top of the needle like this and let it slide down. Boom. There you go. You're going to take your diaphragm and you're going to place the needle down inside the diaphragm into that hole right there, and it should come out the other end like that. Okay? It should fit in like that. You're going to do that with both. I've already got the shim on this one, so I'll just slide it down in there. Now I've got both of them inside of the diaphragms. We'll set both of those to the side. The next thing you're going to do is take your small spring, and on the bottom of the retainer, you place your small spring on the inside. And then you're going to take a pair of needle nose pliers, pinch from the bottom, and push this retainer inside the diaphragm's hole, down to the bottom of the head of the needle, or the rear of the needle, if you will. Then you're going to want to push and twist, and it will lock into place. Okay, so I went ahead and changed out the needle and the diaphragm because it's kind of hard to do and it takes a little while. It takes a little getting used to. But I want to give you a visual of what it should look like. It sits down in there and you push it down and you twist it and it kind of locks in. That's pretty much how you put these diaphragms together. All right, y'all. Now it's time for the fun part, the reinstallation. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and start putting our jets in. Now remember, do not clamp down on these things and do not twist and turn until you can't twist and turn no more, and then twist and turn some more. They are made out of brass. They will deform and reshape. So be careful. Okay, now we're going to put our float in. You're going to take your seat and you're going to put that onto your float. It should hook on just like that. Then you're going to take your carburetor and lean it just enough to where we can get this seat to go down in the hole. Alright. So we got that right there. Now we're going to take this pin, and you want to push that pin into the carburetor float, just like that. Should go all the way through. You might have to wiggle it a little bit. Once that's in there, that should be able to float freely like that. And we're done. As you can tell, I've already placed this rubber ring right here into the plate. What really works easy for me, I guess I should say, is that I start from the bottom kind of, and then I try to rock the plate up. That way the seal doesn't want to pop off, and just kind of like that. Gently push it down, boom, just like that. And then we're in there. Put a screw in it. Go ahead and tighten this down just a little bit. So now we're going to put this diaphragm in. And what you want to do, you want to take the needle, you kind of want to put it down into the hole. And there's a tab right here on this rubber piece, and it is supposed to match up to a little copper piece that is right here. See if you can see that right there. And you just want to drop it down in there. Secure that. Kind of push it in all the way around, all the way around, all the way around. There we go. All right, so now it looks like this. Then you're going to take the plate. You're going to take your spring, drop your spring down into the hole. Put the plate on top of the spring. Make sure that you line this piece up right there where that tab is. And you're going to want to drop it down. And then we're going to put some screws in it. So for the very last step, what we're going to do is we're going to be putting these plungers back on the side with these breathers. Now you can see I've already pushed this breather in. And now I'm going to take this plunger here with the shaft facing down. I'm going to push it down into this hole right here. Hold that with my finger. Grab this spring. And I want to place the spring on top of that rubber plunger. And I'm going to grab this cap. Line that up with the spring. Then I'm going to push down. Get that screw lined up with the hole. And push all the way down. Make sure everything's lined up. So we're going to take our screwdriver here. We're going to screw that in. You don't want to tighten it up too much. Just kind of get it nice and snug, because you're going to have to go back over here and line this hole up. So we're going to take this. I'm going to put that down right there. All right, so luckily for me, it lined up just perfect. So I'm gonna take my screwdriver, go ahead and tighten that one up, get that snug, come back over here, make sure this is nice and tight, come back, make sure that's nice and tight. Our breather is movable, and there you go. So there you have it, folks. It's not really that hard, is it? That is how you rebuild a Honda Shadow VLX 600 dual carburetor. Didn't take that much time. I'm willing to bet if you look in the corner and check the time clock, we are somewhere around 15 to 16 minutes. Like I said before, any six-pack Joe with a half lick of common sense could really achieve this. It's not that hard. And just like my granddaddy said, if you can back a bolt out, you sure as hell can screw a bolt in. Well, folks, I hope everybody enjoyed this video and enjoyed this carburetor rebuild. I look forward to doing a whole lot more with this bike, and I look forward to a lot of y'all tuning in. If you have any questions, comments, anything, you know what to do. Hit that like button, subscribe. I really appreciate y'all. Once again, thank you for all of my new subscribers. Thank you for my previous subscribers. Y'all are awesome. I'm going to keep going. I'm going to keep pushing. I'm going to keep putting out videos. It's all for y'all, baby. Hey, so far so good.